Spider-Man Far From Home. This is the spoiler review. I have a non-spoiler review up on my blog, soundbettermyhead.com. You can check that out there. This is going to be flat out spoilers here, so you're pretty much warned. I did give the movie, and I'll go with a 3.5 out of 5. I flirted with giving it a 4, but I think some of the comedy just didn't really work for me, and some few other things that it didn't work, that I had to knock it down a peg. It's not the movie's fault, but I think I may have lost some enjoyment of the movie because of the guy sitting next to me, who was basically laughing hysterically at everything remotely close to a joke. I mean, I've gone to comedies and haven't seen people laugh this hard. So it actually the first 2 minutes, this guy just howling with laughter, and it's not even really that funny, so it kind of took me out of the movie. So overall, it was a fun movie. It was the same general tone as Spider-Man Homecoming, for better and for worse. I think the worst is that they really started leaning heavy into the comedy. They got into a little bit more of the slapstick. Even when Peter's in action, he's trying to stop this tower from falling. He keeps banging his head on a giant bell. Or just a regular comedy, you got person after person after person knocking on Peter's door while he's trying to talk to Nick Fury, and it started becoming too much. It's like, all right, you're trying to be just too silly here. It was just overkill. Like I said in my main review, this is a direct sequel to Spider-Man Homecoming, but really, except for some of the relationships, and especially Peter being interested in MJ, there's not that much that carries over from that film. You wouldn't be that lost if you didn't see Spider-Man Homecoming. This film is definitely a follow-up on the Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. They breezed through pretty early on, about people dying and basically being brought back, and about the time jump, how Peter's class, a lot of them are 5 years younger than people that they initially went to school with. But for the most part, they kind of dropped that whole thing. There's not much depth into, oh my God, everyone we went to school with is now 5 years older and probably already out of college. It really doesn't get brought up again. I mean, really the only thing that keeps coming up is Tony Stark and his legacy and how Peter deals with it. I think that kind of leads into my least favorite part of the movie. I know there's a lot of pressure to live up to being Tony, and I know he just wants to have a normal life. He went through a lot. He's got this girl that he likes, but he really, really, really is like avoiding any responsibility. I mean, he's basically being told by Nick Fury that if they don't stop these elementals, it could destroy the planet. And Peter is just worried about he's just worried that people are going to find out his secret identity, and he's going to miss his, part of his school trip and try to hook up with MJ. And this comes off as selfish. He comes off as a little bit of a coward. I mean, I know I just said reasons why he's like that, but I think it's just almost a little too much. I mean, they really, really have to twist his arm to have him try to fight and save the day. And even early on, he had a fight at Elemental, and he got to jump into action, and he still, doesn't want to help. But there's still some great moments later on where he really comes to terms, not just himself, but with Happy. They both have a really great emotional moment when they sit and talk about, Tony dying and the legacy and what it means to them. And I thought that was one of the better scenes in the movie as far as drama. Really loved the chemistry of Peter and MJ. Yes, she was just kind of a background character. The first one, he had a different love interest, and now she's kind of like the main love interest, and they just had a nice little thing going. She's got this quirkiness, and he's got his own quirkiness, and they kind of complement each other, and there was this really nice chemistry between the two. And as they got closer and closer together, and she puts up this front, and this is that vulnerable side will kind of leak through, and it just kind of worked really well. Obviously, very few people did not predict that Mysterio would be a villain and not a hero like the trailers showed us. I think the twist was that he's actually got this whole crew of disgruntled Stark employees that have been helping him. The coolest one is the guy from Iron Man 1 that was getting yelled at by Obadiah Stane about not being able to build a miniature arc reactor, even though Tony Stark did it in the cave with a box of scraps. But that was just a really cool callback to have him brought in. I actually thought they'd all be members of like people from the movies that we've seen, but they didn't do that. The exposition scene there was a little bit weird. I liked the way he was telling it, but it was just it was a slightly over the top to him going through this whole story, but it worked for the most part. Solid action sequences. Peter finally gets to really use his spider sense, or as they're calling it now, the Peter tingle. One of the best sequences action-wise, I thought, and it was something they could not even hint at in the trailers because they didn't want you to know about Mysterio, was we guys basically got a classic Mysterio fight with Spider-Man where he's just using all kinds of illusions just to disorient him. Peter swings on him, he ends up hitting a wall instead because he got tricked. He dives off something, he's actually like a foot off the ground. It was just really cool visuals. It borderlined on something you would see when the Scarecrow uses fear gas on somebody from Batman, but I think this is still pretty classic MO for Mysterio, so I think it worked fantastically. And just the way he kept tricking him, it was just, Peter lands a punch on this guy, he's gonna knock him out. I mean, he could kill him with a strong enough punch, so you gotta have him level the playing field, and just to be able to mess with his head like that, so many different ways worked great. And I really dug the zombie Iron Man that he saw in the one illusion. Nice little nod to Marvel Zombies, which I don't think we'll ever see, especially with Disney running Marvel Studios. Like I said, just some of the other storylines are just kind of flimsy. They never really did much with Flash Thompson. It was halfway decent the way they did the love triangle with MJ, Peter, and I think his name Brad. That was okay. The whole thing was weird with Ned falling in love with Betty and vice versa, and them being this super into each other couple that randomly decides to break up at the end of the movie that we don't even see on screen. It was corny and cheesy. I think that's really about it for the main movie. I don't think there's anything I really couldn't get into that much that I wanted to compared to my non-spoiler review. But now I could talk about the mid-credit scene, which I absolutely loved just for one reason. First of all, the doctored footage of Peter supposedly, trying to do the drone strike and Mysterio making himself look like a hero was decent. Pretty crazy that they revealed his identity, but the best part, of course, as a fan of the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, was I absolutely loved. Not only do we get J. Jonah Jameson back in the Daily Bugle, and not only was it kind of similar to the new Spider-Man game where it's more like an online blog instead of a newspaper, but we actually got J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson, who was freaking perfect in the original trilogy, and it's absolutely great seeing him back again. Slightly different look. That was a little, threw me off a bit. It looked more like his normal look instead of the classic JJJ look, but still, I absolutely loved it. It got a massive geek out moment for me when I saw that. That post-credit scene was bizarre. We had first we revealed that Maria Hill is actually a Skrull, which was interesting, and then we see that Nick Fury the whole time was actually Talos from Captain Marvel, and I started getting excited that we were actually going to see Secret Invasion. But then they flip it that they're actually working with Fury, who's either on a Skrull spaceship or space station, and seems to be the boss there. I don't know where they're going to go with that. I don't know what that's supposed to be setting up. It doesn't appear to be something Spider-Man related. So I'm not sure what to take from that, so I didn't know how to feel about the scene overall. Seems like, granted, Fury was actually Talos most of the movie, but even the end, that version of Fury, we went from the hard ass that we got, most of the films to we're getting hints more of the slightly goofier Captain Marvel version of the character, which I'm not too fond of. It worked for the time. He was a younger agent. He wasn't as cynical. He didn't know how crazy the world really was out there back in the 90s. And then he got harder and harder as time went on. The way reality kind of weighed down on him, and it's weird to see him go back to regressing to the previous version of Fury, if that's what they were going for. I think that's all I really got. don't think there's like a shit ton to talk about for the movie as far as getting to the spoilers. Like I said, if you want to still check out the non-spoiler review, it's on my blog. It's soundedbetterинmyhead.com. I have some other reviews on there, TV reviews, movie reviews. I got my comic strip on there. So thanks for watching.